Welcome to Wonder, Dream, Wander, a Walt Disney World podcast. See what we did there? Wonder, Dream, Wander, WDW.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Ron.
Grab your ears and buckle up because today we are embarking on the most magical journey on Earth.
Whether you're a lifelong Disney buff or a total noob, a childless millennial like us, or a family, we will cover all the best ins and outs of Walt Disney World travel.
So, with a little bit of pixie dust, we're off to episode 1.
Episode 1, tickets. There is lots to know and decide when you are buying Disney tickets. There are very few websites that offer legitimate discounts, and often they really aren't great. I have found it best to buy directly from Disney.
Okay, before we dive into current ticket prices, what were the tickets like when the park first opened?
The park first opened in Florida on October 1st, 1971, and ticket prices then were $3.50 a day. But much like a carnival, you had to purchase additional tickets for additional fees for each ride and attraction.
That's right. So the parks didn't change over to general admission until 10 years later. In 1981, they raised the ticket prices by $9.50 for a total of $13 a day.
Just a year after that, in 1982, they raised the prices again to $15 and introduced the first ever annual pass for $100.
The prices adjust and tend to increase slightly each year. Let's dive into what the prices look like for 2025. What a lot of people don't know is that the ticket prices are no longer fixed. They fluctuate in price during busier seasons or holidays.
Children under 3 enter the parks for free, and there is no child admission. Anyone over 3 pays the same amount for each ticket. The Walt Disney World website, mydisneyexperience.com, is where you will begin and plan all of your travel plans. They list tickets by minimum possible price you could pay, but if you check the website calendar, there may be only 2 days in the year where the tickets will be that price, so you can expect to pay higher. The more days you visit, the cheaper each ticket will be per day.
Okay, so for example, one day in the parks is a minimum of $125 for a single park, versus a 6-day park trip reduces to a minimum $90 per day. There are also add-ons that could raise ticket prices depending on the experience you're looking for, but we'll cover those later.
There are a whopping 4 parks in Walt Disney World: Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, and Epcot. It takes at least... Amanda's favorite is Epcot. No secret there. It takes at least 1 full day to visit each, and most people visit their favorite parks an additional time to make sure they get done everything they want to there.
For this reason, we'll be using the 6-day ticket pricing in this episode for our example.
Holiday pricing spikes are obvious. Easter week, Christmas, Hanukkah, Halloween, and midsummer vacation periods are usually the most expensive.
What some people don't realize is that Disney World holds popular events that drive up pricing. They hold marathons, race weekends 4 times a year that drive thousands to the parks. There's also festivals in Epcot 4 times a year, and while these run for months each, it's not uncommon to see spikes during opening or closing weekends of those festivals.
The most inexpensive times to go to Disney based on the ticket pricing website is August, though I warn you, it is extremely hot. September, January into the first week of February, and May. Based on a 6-day ticket purchase, your average price per park per day will be as low as $90, but on average around $113 per ticket per day during these times of year.
On the high end, visiting in December, for example, you'll be paying $134 per park per day on a 6-day ticket. So, if your travel plans are flexible, it's worth spending some time in the My Disney Experience ticket calendar and searching for the best time that fits your budget.
Another thing you should know is that if you're planning on booking an on-property hotel, they often offer vacation packages or ticket packages, where if you bundle the hotel and park tickets, they discount them. But this pricing also varies based on dates.
Okay, let's talk about add-ons. There is a park hopper option, which means that you can visit more than one park a day, hopping between as many parks as you want. This bundle is all or nothing. You can't add it on for just a day or two of your trip unless you pay for it the day at the park or buy tickets separately. For example, buying 3 single ticket days and 3 park hopper tickets.
This can also be confusing to keep track of. If you accidentally scan your park hopper ticket in the entrance on a day that you didn't intend to park hop, you've wasted that park hopper ticket.
Sad faces. Park hopping, though, can be very convenient. If you're new to the parks, however, you want to consider the single day tickets. You can still leave and re-enter the park as many times as you want with the single day ticket.
Please be mindful of the moving walkway.
A 6-day single park ticket bundle outside of a package reservation will cost you roughly $540 on the low end or on the more inexpensive days, and as high as $800 per person plus tax, whereas adding the park hopper option will cost you roughly between $640 on the low end to $900 on the more expensive days, plus tax per person for a 6-day ticket.
Okay, but what about the water parks?
I'm so glad you asked, Amanda. Water parks are not included in park hopping. There are 2 water parks in Walt Disney World, Florida parks. That is Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, each with a separate admission. You can choose to book these parks separately, but there is also an add-on to any ticket bundle.
You can add on water parks and ESPN World of Sports to your 6-day package for a total of roughly $623 on cheaper dates versus $870 a person on more expensive ones. Or you can add a park hopper and water parks for between $658 to $915 a person. So that's a difference of $300 just because of the dates alone.
The last thing you might be asked to add on is a memory maker. And what is a memory maker? A memory maker will ensure that you get any and all of your PhotoPass pictures from your entire trip. The good thing about this is that the price is always the same regardless of the dates. So memory makers include all of your ride photos, videos, extras that the My Disney Experience app throws in of characters or ambient photos throughout the parks, any photos you take with characters, or any photos that you take around the parks with official Disney photographers. There are also things called magic shots, if you've never heard of them. Magic shots are taken by official Disney photographers where they might add in a special little effect where in the winter they might make it snow in your picture, so it'll be kind of like a GIF or a short video of a snowy scene in Walt Disney World, Florida. Or they might ask you to hold open your hand and they'll place a special character inside your hand or make a character appear in your photo. And those are really, really desirable and very expensive if you purchase them as individual photos. With the memory maker, you get all of these digitally to your account.
And as a heads up, if you travel to Disney with Ron, she will make you jump as if she's using the force on you.
Some of the PhotoPass photographers are very, very, very personable and super fun. They make you do fun poses. There was actually one time, I'm going to tell a brief story. There was one time that Amanda and I traveled to Disney World with another friend, and we were waiting for a photo opportunity in front of the castle at Magic Kingdom, and the PhotoPass gentleman picked a man from the family behind us to join our picture and pretend to be Gaston and the three of us girls had to pretend to fawn over him like the three blonde girls from Beauty and the Beast. So he made this stranger, complete stranger we've never met before. This man goes in our picture and does like a muscle pose, and then we all had to fawn over him. And I cherish those pictures to this day. I don't know who that man is. I don't know his name. I have never found him again, but I look back on those pictures so fondly, and that memory just like lives on forever as a core memory. So I can't stress this enough. Like, I don't want to be biased, but I love getting the memory maker. Even if it's only a short trip, I have always found it to be worth it. They're great at doing their jobs, and you get so many every time you meet up with a photographer, you get at least 5 pictures of that one moment. So you come away with lots and lots and lots of pictures, and sometimes you get very special experiences like the one that we had.
Yeah, and definitely ask them, like, if there's something that you're looking for in the special pictures that you've heard of. So the last time I went, there was rumors of a picture where Beaker would come out from the Muppets. And so we actually went up to the photographers and asked, like, hey, where can you get, this photo with Beaker? And they will legit tell you where to go. And then even if they're not the photographer, they'll call over, like, hey, we need a Beaker picture. So one of the best things is that you can receive these photos digitally in the app the same day. So you can save them to your phone, you can go to the desktop website and save them to computer, or you can order physical prints for an additional cost, which is what I like to do when I visit with friends, and that makes like a fun Christmas gift, holiday gift.
I love that. And the app also gives you like the opportunity to add borders and special effects if you're wanting to print out those photos or create some kind of digital album. But I love being able to save them right to my phone immediately. But I do go home at the end of my trip and then download them to my computer just so I have like another file. And if I've gone with friends, I can save them to a thumb drive and then share them with everyone I've been with. And they always appreciate having those memories. So I can't stress enough, Memory Maker is one of those things that I just always feel is so worth it. And you never have to worry about purchasing a ride photo. Everything is always included, and it's super fun. Now that we've covered the basics on tickets, it's clear to see that it is not a completely inexpensive trip depending on when you want to go. This is why, after having gone to Disney several times as an adult, I decided to look into an annual pass holder membership, even though I live in New Jersey. Honestly, I found it really beneficial and worthwhile.
Annual pass holder memberships don't require long-term commitment, and they don't renew each year unless you want them to. There's a discount for renewal, but if you're not planning on visiting again for several months of your pass, it's best to just let it expire and get a new membership when you're ready to visit again.
Let's talk a bit about why I decided to become a pass holder. There are 4 tiers of membership, but 3 of them are limited to Florida residents only, which obviously doesn't apply to me living in New Jersey. So I will begin with the most expensive tier and the only tier available to me as an out-of-state member. The Incredipass, currently priced at $1,549 a year plus tax. Based on the ticket prices we mentioned above, if I visit Disney twice a year for a few days each, my pass has already paid for itself in just admission ticket prices alone.
But there are even more benefits to having an annual pass. You can get discounted rates on on-property hotels, up to 20% off merchandise in the parks, and up to 20% off sit-down dining. The biggest added bonus to the pass is that there are no blackout dates. You can go to the parks every single day for the same price if you wanted to, including holidays.
While the Florida resident passes are less expensive, they do have a lot more restrictions. The least expensive pass is the Florida Resident Pass, Pixie Dust Pass for $469 plus tax per year. These exclude all holidays, weekends, and peak busy weeks. It is the most limited option. The next option is the Disney Pirate Pass for $829 a year plus tax, and the Disney Sorcerer Pass for $1,079 per year. Both are Florida resident only passes and are priced based on number of restrictions and blockout dates.
The annual pass, like park tickets, only includes forecourt parks, but Park Hopper is automatically included in your pass and it's not an additional fee. You can also add on the Memory Maker for an additional $99 for the entire year, as well as the water parks and ESPN World of Sports option for another $99 add-on per year.
Depending on when you're looking to travel, ticket pricing, and likelihood to come back, you could benefit hugely from just one member in your party being an annual pass holder. The entire party does not need to be annual pass holders, but they will need park tickets. However, as long as you have the annual pass and are the person paying or checking out, your entire party benefits from those discounts. I normally travel on my own or with one or two other people, and since I have a small group and each person is usually an adult that pays for their own tickets, having an annual pass has been extremely beneficial to me. This may not be the best option for you if you are independently funding a family trip for a larger group of people, but you would have to do the calculations and see which plan works best for you and your family.
The My Disney Experience website and app have live representatives that can help you work out these calculations and help you plan. I cannot stress this enough. The service is free and they are so friendly and so helpful. I can't tell you how many times I've spent not maybe like close to hours, maybe even having them like troubleshoot something. And they're so friendly, so helpful.
I have definitely been in chats with the My Disney Experience folks. There are some times that there is a wait, but they're really good at getting to you and they are so kind, so helpful, and it's completely free. There is no additional charge just to ask questions and help you plan, and they are always happy to answer questions. So it is something I really highly recommend if you're on the fence about something or have questions about something or hit a snag when you're planning. They're really good about answering those questions.
Highly recommend.
All right, I think we've covered all the tickets. Is there anything you want to add before we say farewell?
So I think we should touch upon why we're starting this podcast. So fun fact for everyone listening, if you don't know us personally, we've both been to Disney a lot.
We have. I have been to Disney quite a bit as a child with my family. You know, I wouldn't say quite a bit, maybe like a handful of times. But I recently started going on Disney trips as an adult, maybe within the last like 10 years. And that was the first time I went back since I was 15 years old. And going back as an adult and as a childless millennial, I just felt like this is the best thing ever. Like, I had the most fun. I felt so carefree. I felt like I didn't think about my real world stress or problems. And after I came home, I really went through Disney withdrawal. I went through this period of, I really miss Disney. I want to go back. I want to go back. I want to go back. And I started going back once a year and bringing other adult friends and kind of like indoctrinating them into this like adult Disney lifestyle. So every year I would bring a new friend and convince them that this was like the best thing ever. And after maybe 3 or 4 years of this, going back once a year, I was like, I feel like I'm going to need to go back more often. So that's when I started getting into the annual pass. So for the last several years, I've been an annual pass holder and I've been going back at least twice a year. And I scour the websites for when it's the cheapest, and I'll go by myself. If nobody wants to go with me, I will go by myself. Like, that is how hardcore I am into it. It really makes me feel relaxed. It feels like a great getaway. It feels like a good weekend. And I am just my happiest. I always feel great. So I have in recent years have gone so frequently that now all of my friends consider me that go-to person. And they're like, "Oh my God, you should be a Disney travel agent. You should do a podcast. You have so much knowledge about the Disney parks because you go so frequently." And while I'm sure I'm not the most knowledgeable, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty confident that I could give some valuable information. So, the only other person that I know that is pretty on par with me is Amanda. So I was like, Amanda, will you do this with me? I like proposed a podcast to Amanda. I was like, Amanda, will you podcast with me? And Amanda was like, I do. And here we are.
So the first time I ever went to Disney, I was 10, and at that point, they still had children's pricing, and children's pricing ended at 9. And so by Disney standards, I was an adult, and it was so rude. I was like, oh my God.
And your family definitely lied about it, because my family has done that so many times. And I was like the rat out kid. I was the rat out kid. Like, my family would go to like a zoo, and they'd be like, yeah, she's 9. And I'm like, I'm 10. And they're like, shut the hell up. I'm like,
in my case,
I'm sorry I messed this up.
I guess because I was so tall, they were just like, no, she's 10. And after that, I went every year of my life. And then a couple of times we did go, like 2 or 3 times, in which case we did do the annual pass. Like, even them, like at the counter, we're like, are you coming back to the park? And we'll be like, yeah, we'll be here in May. And they're like, you need the annual pass. And yeah, the only other person I know who's gone as many times is Ron. No, really, no one else. And then the one time we went together, which was a lot. I think the one thing, though, that was really funny was there was a moment when Ron was trying to explain something to me, and I was like, I know.
Yeah, it's so funny because I forget, because every time I ever bring somebody, they don't know anything, and I'm never used to bringing somebody with me that knows just as much. So I'm like, you know, this thing? And Amanda's like, yeah, I know, sweetie. And I'm like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I'm Disney-splaining to you. You know?
I always feel like, and then Ron's the same way, where I always feel like when I go into the park and your family and your friends are like, let's get the map, and you're like, I'm the map. Like, it's here.
Me. I'm the map. Put that away. Save it for your collectibles.
Oh, before though we sign off, I do want to touch upon one thing, because I know it just happened. Just, what was it, like not even a week ago? How many days ago?
Like 2 days ago. Well, all right. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but the Happily Ever After fireworks show in Magic Kingdom, it's the end of night fireworks show. It was a fireworks show of the past. It was very beloved, and then it went away. It was replaced with something else. And recently it was added back because it was such a fan favorite. Well, there are 2 singers on the track in the fireworks show. There's a male voice and a female voice. The male voice is Jordan Fisher, who has done a lot of things for Disney movies and Disney shows. Jordan Fisher is currently playing the role of Orpheus in Hadestown on Broadway in New York City. I live very close to there, and I am a big theater nerd as well, and a big Broadway buff. I go to several shows a year. So I went to one of his last shows. I've seen him in other Broadway shows before. However, I had never met him. So this time, despite it being absolutely bitter, freezing, disgustingly cold, I waited outside of the theater by the stage door for the actors to exit and sign the playbills. So as Jordan Fisher exited, my friend and I, who had both seen him in Dear Evan Hansen and who had both been to Disney together and heard his voice in Happily Ever After, we were very complimentary to him and saying how we loved his performance in Hadestown, we loved his performance in Dear Evan Hansen, and how much we appreciated his voice being in Happily Ever After. So Jordan Fisher starts gushing about how this is his absolute favorite thing he's ever done, and he starts singing the song, and then he's like, if you know it, sing along. So we start singing along, and it's like, oh my God, this was not on my bingo card that I'm going to sing with Jordan Fisher, the Happily Ever After fireworks song. And that just made my life. Like, I just thought that was the coolest moment ever. And I'm going to think of that forever. So if you get to Disney World and you get to see the Happily Ever After fireworks, in the meantime, you could check it out on Spotify. You could hear the Happily Ever After fireworks song with Jordan Fisher in it. But if you see the fireworks, it's very emotional. It's very a very special experience. And just knowing that I got to actually sing that song with him in person is so wild to me.
And I heard a rumor that someone else famous from let's say, a old Disney movie. I say old just because it was when we were children.
Yes.
In the olden days.
I had front row seats for Hadestown, and the character of Hermes is normally played by a man, but for this particular cast, it was played by a woman, and that woman was one of the muses in Disney's Hercules. So there were two very big Disney legends on the stage right in front of my very eyes for this performance, and it was very, very special for me as a big Disney fan.
Did you know she was going to be in it? Or was that a surprise?
I did not know. No.
I would have just bought the
know.
clamshell like Hercules.
Yeah, I did not
Kind of.
know. And actually before the show started, so I got my playbill when I got to my seat, and I didn't really get a chance to read it. There's like every actor's bio in it. So I didn't really get a chance to read it, but I went over to the merch stand and checked what they had, anything that was new. And then I went over to snacks and beverage area to like grab something before I went to get a seat. And the person in front of me was not super knowledgeable about the cast, and the bartender was kind of like schooling them on how like cool the cast was. And the bartender was like, this is a very special cast. Like, this person has done this, and this person has done that, and this person has done. And I feel like the person in front of me was not fully appreciating it. Like, I was just a bystander, and I was like, oh, like all up in the business, you know. I was like, tell me more, bartender. Like, yeah, and I was like, immediately when I got to my seat, I'm looking at my playbill. So I read the playbill, and I was like, oh, she was in Hercules, you know. And it's like, of course, the show hadn't started yet, so I hadn't heard her voice, but I wasn't gonna recognize just her like playbill image because you don't see the real person's image in a cartoon movie. So how would I have recognized her? But she was fantastic, and I was really, really impressed by this particular cast. It was a really good cast.
Yeah, definitely check them out if you're in the New York City area before they
For
leave.
sure, before they swap out. Mm-hmm.
All right, and we would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, turn on notifications, or leave any comments or suggestions for us.
We hope you found this information helpful and that you follow along with us on all our socials, Instagram, YouTube, and your favorite podcast provider at WonderDreamWander. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for us at the pod, you can email us at wonderdreamwander@gmail.com.
And don't forget to sprinkle a little pixie dust on your day. And remember, the magic is just a podcast away.
Until next time, keep wondering, dreaming, and wandering.